African.
Good evening and welcome to Hot News. We are coming to you from our studios in Belenpe 48 Swanika Street here in Accra on Pan African Television. My name is Justice Appiah. Let me remind you that we are streaming live on Facebook at Pan African Television. We are live on YouTube at Pan African Television. Tonight on Hot News, we are discussing a very important issue. A group identified as concerned tertiary students of GIJ has given the management of two tertiary institutions, University of Ghana and the Institution of Journalism, Ghana Institute of Journalism, a 14-day ultimatum to reverse a decision they took to increase school fees for the 2020-2021 academic year. According to the group, in a press release dated October 6, the group said it is determined to push for the reversal of the decision. Viewers, you can join in the conversation by sending your views, comments, and contributions on 02608465 39. You can as well leave your comments, suggestions, questions, and whatnot on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. We'll make a time and read all those stuff for you. I've been joined in the studio by Comrade Naninche, a concerned student. Yes, he's a member of the Concerned Student Association. Comrade, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Thank you so much for joining me on this platform.
Thanks for having us here.
Comrade Naninche is a student of GIJ, and also in the studio is Larry
Abdul
Samad. He is also a member of the Concerned Students Association. He is also a student of Ghana Institute of Journalism. They've released a press statement. They'll be telling us what their grievances are and what they want management of the schools they're talking about to do. According to them, GIJ has increased their fees by 5%, and University of Ghana has also increased its fees by 12%. They are demanding and has given the two institutions, I think, 12-day or 14-day ultimatum to reverse. 14-day ultimatum to reverse this decision. If they are unable to do so, I don't know what exactly they will intend to do, but they will tell us on the program. But let me start with Comrade Naninche. Comrade, thank you so much once again.
Thanks again for having us.
What are your grievances, basically?
Yeah, like the heading of our press release states, a call for tertiary fee reduction for the 2020-2021 academic year. And so everything we've put on paper is just to call for a reduction in fees. And one will ask, why would students be against an increment in fees?
Exactly.
And it's very important that we put the discussion in proper context so we understand why this agitation. Because one will just feel like 5% is normal. Again, when the school has not increased fees in a very long time. But then again, we are not in normal times like we all say. And so COVID has affected every facet of our lives. We know again that their businesses in Ghana have collapsed because of COVID-19.
Okay.
And for many of the students out there, their parents work in these businesses, work in the banks, work in the markets, and all these institutions. And so it's a bit insensitive at this point in time to try to increase fees when people cannot even pay for what we have already. And so the call is that last semester, I think somewhere around March when we first had our first COVID case, school went on break, and so we couldn't have physical classes, but we could have online classes. And so when we pay fees, one aspect of paying fees is what we call the facility user fee. So the buildings of the school we use, the computer lab, the library, we are paying for using it. And so if we go on break, it means that we are no longer using those facilities.
Exactly.
And now the facility that will be very important for us is online materials. So we would have to use an online portal to learn. We need airtime to learn that, and we need gadgets to be able to learn. The school did not provide any of these items for the student body.
Okay.
Again, it's very important to note that the school promised to give data to students, and as I speak to you, that data has not still arrived. And so we are saying, and the president has not even announced whether we'll be going back to school any moment from now. And so we are assuming that in the unlikely event that school reopens, we should be looking at either maintaining the fees or reducing it, because students are burdened with having to buy data and bundles to be able to go online to learn. And so we were quite shocked when we got to know Nicodemously that the school had increased fees by 5%. And I use the word Nicodemously.
Yes, I was about to ask you, why did you use the word Nicodemus?
Anytime.
As if the school is hiding and you know, of course, increasing those.
GIJ is a school of communication. And so in school, we are taught communication. And communication is very key in whatever we do. When GIJ opened admissions, it's announced to the general public. When GIJ had a new rector, it was announced in the dailies. When GIJ needed a contractor to build some facilities at the new site, it was announced in the public. How come that when it comes to the issue of increments in the fees, there's no official release from the
Has there been a time the school increased fees and it was published in any of these platforms you're talking about?
In our 3-year lifespan at GIJ, the two of us, school fees at GIJ has never been increased. When you don't even pay your fees and you have to pay penalty, it is put on the notice board.
But is it a normal practice that when the school is going to increase its fees, it is published, or probably it is indicated on platforms?
That is what it should be. Because if I'm your student and you're increasing my fees, and let's say
why should it be so?
Yeah, because if I know my school fees is 2,400,
these are supposed to be communicated to the school, to the students in the school, not to the general public.
No, okay, so it has not been communicated to me. I go to pay my fees and I only realize on my student portal that the fees has been increased from 2,400 to 2,520 cedis. That's a 5% increment, which I don't know about. So that's the point we're raising. That's where we use the word Nicodemously. And so it's very that's on that point, that for us does not serve the interest of the student body, because if you're increasing school fees just like you do for every other thing, we should know about it. And so for us, these are our concerns. That's for looking at it from the perspective of GIJ. But looking at it from the perspective of the concerned student body, many other universities are attempting to increase fees. University of Ghana has increased its fees by 12 or 14%. 12%. And we've read a release from the SRC that's been put in place instructing or encouraging students not to pay the fees and hold on, because now, Justice, I just want you to get the logic in this. As we speak today, even the President of the Republic has not announced for schools to be reopened. But a school is saying that pay a particular fees, and by Friday, 9th October, which is this Friday, if you don't pay that fees, then you don't get to register. So why are we in a rush to increase the fees for a semester that we don't even know when it will open?
Are you fighting the duration, or you are fighting the increment in the fees? I just want to understand.
Our major focus is the increment in the fees. But many other issues that surround the increments in the fees must be raised, because schools are on break. No one has told us when university, and that official announcement would come from the President of the Republic. That has not come. And then schools, GIJ decides to increase fees. And another point we should note is that for tertiary institutions, in increments of fees, it is not just the institution that decides it. It goes to Parliament. Parliament decides, okay, we approve your increments. We've not heard from Parliament whether there's been an increment or not.
So again, I was about to ask you this question, because you talked about the fact that in your statement, you talked about the fact that the increment in itself is illegal. What makes it illegal? Because you're saying that the whole thing would have to be sent to Parliament for approval before the schools increase their fees. We all know that some of these private investors and even the public investors, every year fees is increased.
No, that would not be right.
That would not be right.
Yeah.
But I can use the private investors as an example, because every year I think that their fees are increased, right? Who regulates? If you are talking about the fact that it has to come from Parliament, have you done your research well? And at what point did they increase fees in this country that Parliament had to approve?
Exactly.
I'll come to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I raised the points on if we need to separate, and I again say that if we don't put the discussion in proper context, we don't understand what we are fighting for. Private universities do not take their approval for their fees from the government. The government regulates tertiary institutions, and so if there has to be an approval, Parliament approves. So
now tell me, what's the process when it comes to the public institutions when with regards to increment in fees? What's the process?
Basically, so all universities would fall under the Ministry of Education. Exactly. So if any, and there have been moments where GIJ has thought of increasing fees. That has been stopped by the Ministry of Education.
Okay.
So GIJ, it's not an institution in isolation. GIJ is a public institution, and public institutions are regulated by the Ministry of Education, the National Council for Tertiary Education too. So if GIJ or tertiary institutions feel there's a need for increment of fees, Legon doesn't sit in isolation and do that. They consult, they send reports to the Ministry of Education. These are the things we need to do, and they get approval for these items. So we don't just sit in isolation and say, okay, this is what we want to do. That is one bit of it.
Have you found out from powers that be?
Yeah.
Have you found out from the Ministry of Education if indeed they have given that approval for fees to be increased in all the public universities?
Be that as it may, whoever approves an increment in fees, our fight is against the increment in fees. So whether it is approved by Ministry of Education, whether it was Nicodemously brought, whatever the situation might be, we are against increments in fees.
All right, I'll come to you once again. Now, you would want to come in. I mean, with regards to who is responsible for regulating increment in fees, school fees in our public institutions.
Exactly. So actually, there's an act.
What did the act say?
Yes, there's an act that stipulates how increments should be done. You get it. There's a process. So before any tertiary institution can increase fees or any charges on students, there is an act that was signed by the President of Ghana in 2018. So the act, which is titled the Fees and Charges Act, states that, let me take you to the part which talks about the determination of fees. That is the section 3. It states that 1, a ministry, department or agency entitled to charge a fee or levy a charge shall review annually the administrative efficiency of collection, the accuracy of past estimates, and the relevance of fees and charges to current economic conditions. Relevance to current economic conditions. That is where we come in, and we are against the increment because
Can you quote the act once again?
The act, actually, it says the 983rd Act of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, entitled Fees and Charges. So this was signed by the President on 28th December 2018.
So what's the point in quoting this act?
The point in quoting this act has to do with the question you asked Nanincha about the illegality of this. So what we are trying to say is that there has not been any, and talking about it being illegal, per our checks,
you go ahead.
Per our checks with our sources, and you know, with journalism students, we are, and you are aware that we are not under any condition to reveal our sources, because you are supposed to protect where you get your information from. So what we have found out is that there has not been any conclusiveness on the issue of increment of fees. So the issue is still under discussion, but here is the case that we are asked to pay a 5% increment in our fees. So that is what we are talking about.
Have you consulted management on this issue? What did they tell you?
Exactly. So I think that was last month. There was a meeting. There was a meeting that management called for, even though it was not directly related to this. But then a question about this came up. A question about this came up, and the dean was asked about the increment in fees. And what the dean said was that the increment is long overdue. So in that case, he's trying to tell us that no matter what, we are going to pay the 5% increment. You get it? No matter what, we are going to pay the 5% increment. And again, on 21st September, that's last month of this year, the SRC, our current SRC president, wrote a petition to management. Until date, we don't know what has become of that petition.
What did the petition say?
So the petition is, in a way, even though it's some kind of, I would call it like the normal love letters he has been writing, because he's not really been that kind of a leader that we had wanted. So the petition was asking the management to kind of show a human face to the whole situation and then try to rescind its decision on the increment. You get it? So that was what the petition was asking for.
Okay, now I would want to quote a portion of your statement and ask you a question.
Okay.
You said to start with, the last semester of the past academic year was truncated due to the urgency to close down schools and the nation at large to curb the spread of the virus. Due to this, tertiary students did not fully benefit from the fees they paid in 2019-2020 academic year. Several calls from some student bodies for a refund have, however, not been heeded to.
Exactly.
I'll end it over there. Are you saying that because 2019-2020 fees that was paid, you could not benefit properly from it? For that reason, even if it is due for the university to increase its fees, it shouldn't be increased.
Okay,
is that what
so
you're saying?
I'm sure you've seen when the fees are out, you've seen that of Legon or other schools. You've seen it before. But with GIJ, what happens is that you don't really get to see even the breakdown. But we know, as students, we know that there's a chunk of every part of the fee that you pay that goes into certain things. There are those that go into facility user fee. There's part of it that goes into maybe sports. There's part of it that goes into electricity and all of that. So all of those things are charged.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is that along the line, there was a break. We had to go home. You get it? So the part of the money that was not used for the facility user fee, that is what we are calling for. We are asking for a refund for that, but we never got it. And then again, when we
But the fact that you have not gotten the refund of what you were demanding for, doesn't also mean that if it is due for the school to increase its, fees, it shouldn't be done.
Okay, that calls for the question. Well, what makes it due for a school to increase fees? What makes it due? So, we are talking of a situation where we are faced with a global pandemic.
Okay.
A situation where mostly parents of these students that attend these schools. Nietzsche was even talking about businessmen, but I can tell you for a fact that 90% of the students' parents that attend these schools are people who live from hand to mouth. They are people who are in the markets. They are people who are they are normal people. So we all know the situation in Ghana. We are not a country that has a lot of rich people. These students you see around, they have parents who sell in the market. And we are faced with a pandemic. You get it? So the least you can do is to, if not reduce
but
the
fees.
If not reduce, can you let me land? If not
land, because I have a question to ask you.
If not reduce the fees, at least maintain the old fees for us.
Okay. Let's go back to your statement, the portion I read, the paragraph that I read. Are you aware that fees paid are not refundable?
Yes.
And if you're aware that fees paid to the institutions are not refundable, why then were you demanding that certain fees that you paid 2020 refunded?
I don't think I said we were really we were not demanding for a refund. You get it? But we are saying that since there was a break and we did not get to finish the amounts we paid, at least this year or this semester, this incoming year, you shouldn't be increasing the fees.
You talked about the fact that you did not fully benefit from the fees you paid
exactly.
last year.
So we are
is that not the argument?
Exactly. We are
so
using
to what end are you advancing that?
We are using that to build a case because now there has been an increase in our fees. You get the point? There has been an increase in our fees, even though last semester we did not get to exhaust the fees that we paid, because part of it goes into facility user fee, but we didn't get to we didn't get to use the facilities throughout the semester.
Okay.
Or throughout the year. That's what we are talking about.
But that's not the making of the school. is a making of a pandemic.
Exactly. It's not our making as well. So we cannot be at the
losing end.
Yes, we cannot be at the losing end, of course, because it's not our making, and it's not the making of the school. That is why we've not asked for a refund, but we are also against the increment.
If it so happens that this increment is one that has been approved, it is coming from the right quarters, what would you do?
If it's coming from the right quarters or not coming from the right quarters, we do not really care about that.
Are you saying that as an organization, as an association, you urge your people not to pay the fees, even if it is coming from the right quarters?
Of course, we urge our people not to pay the fees, because as Ninti laid the foundation, we are faced with the pandemic. Even the president has had to give out a lot of support to businesses. There has been a stimulus package. I don't really recall the amount, but there's been an amount that businesses have been helped. And in this pandemic, final year students of JHS and then SHS were helped with a meal. All is in relation to the pandemic. It's trying to find ways to help. Isn't that the case? So why wouldn't there be any help for us to as tertiary students? Why would you hit us with an increment in fees at this particular time? That is what we are talking about, and we don't really understand it. And talking about, you were talking about due, even if it's due for, and I was asking you about when is it due? A school that last year,
and I mean, the management told you that it was due long ago.
It was due long ago. It was due long ago. What makes it due? A school that has had to make in excess of 2 million Ghana cedis last year. A school that has had to make in excess of 6 million this year. What do you need the money for? That is the question we should be asking. What do you need the money for?
But does it really matter if the
school makes
1 billion in a month?
Of course, and we still have to increase. It matters. What do you need? Of course,
you really have to know what the monies are used for before you pay school.
Of course.
Exactly.
Before school fees is increased.
Of course.
That's it.
Okay, come in.
GIJ is not a business-making venture.
Okay.
GIJ
what
is a government institution. And when government puts up institutions, the ultimate goal is not to make profit. I would want to take you back to, there's a news article by Daily Graphic on their website on 19th July, and this is a statement. This was a news item. There's the heading. It says, submit fees levies to Parliament for approval.
Okay. This
is coming from Professor Kwesi Yanka, who is the Minister of State in charge of tertiary education. And so, legally, and he goes on, for clarity's sake, he says that, and if you'd allow me read, he says, the Fees and Charge Act 2009, which was amended by legislative instrument LI 2228 2016, seeks to safeguard the public interest against arbitrarily and haphazard charges and levying of students by universities. So the reason why schools must send their what they want to levy students to Parliament is because of they want to fight against such haphazard increment.
Haphazard way of increasing
stuff. Let's put that aside. GIJ just 3 weeks ago at the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament declared a 6 million profits, 6 million Ghana cedi profits. That is one. So for an institution like this, like he said, the ultimate goal again could not be just to make profits. If the school wants to make profits, it must not just be to put the burden on students. So the president in himself admits that, look, the COVID pandemic has not only had impact on only GIJ. GIJ is not the only public university. A public university like UDS has reduced its fees by 16%. That's University for Development Studies. 16% because they admit that the pandemic has affected the student body, so they've reduced it. GIJ says no. We are increasing it by 5%, even though we've made 6 million profit. Let me give you the last point. There's a bit of blackmail in this, and for many students,
where's the blackmail in
exactly?
This?
So I pay 2,400 cedis for last year, the 2019-2020 academic year, and you cannot write exams if you have not paid fees. In fact, you cannot access your student portal if you have not paid fees. So if I write exams for an academic year I've paid,
the ultimate thing is for me to see the results of an academic year I've paid for. Isn't that so?
Exactly.
But GIJ says no. We would block your portal. You cannot register. You cannot view your results for the previous academic year if you don't pay for a semester you have not begun. That's how serious the issue is. And this is a blackmail. It's a bait to get you to pay fees for a semester you have not begun in order to see a result for a semester you've paid. You know where it gets a bit worse? JJ releases another statement and says that by 15th October, we have that's from 15th October to I think 31st October. If you have an issue with your results, you have that period to lodge a complaint, after which the complaint will be followed for, and then probably if you have a good case, it will be worked on.
Okay.
Now, the school again is saying that if you have not paid fees, so imagine, I have to lodge complaint for an exams I wrote that I paid for, but I cannot see the results for the exams I paid for, but I'm expected to lodge a complaint if I have a problem. So it happened to me in level 200.
Okay.
I have not paid my fees, and I had a problem with my visual. That was in the second semester. I had a problem with my visual com exams that I had written in first semester. I did not even know I had a reset. But I had paid for fees before I was able to write visual com. So it makes sense that you are able to see results for an academic year you've paid for. And for many universities, including University of Ghana, Legon, if you pay for 2020 academic year and the results are released, you see, but you cannot register. And so you know what this is doing to students? It is putting fear in students. As I speak to you, many have come into my DM and have paid. You know why? Because they are afraid that by the 9th of October, if they don't make those payments, they cannot be able to view results for a year they have paid for, and they will be punished for that. Now, aside those who are continuing, the new students, these are new students who don't know anything about GIJ, are having to pay for these fees that have been illegally brought about. So our point still stands that, and you asked a question about what will we do if we realize that from the legal authorities it comes. We are saying that whoever increases the fees of students, including GIJ, whoever decides to increase from the presidency, whether it's parliament, whether it is approved by the Minister of State in charge of tertiary education, whether it's approved by GIJ, we would fight and resist it. And that is the course on which we are on. We are willing to go any extent, any legal means, and by any means necessary, as Malcolm X puts it, to fight this system because this is illegal.
In quantifying the 5%, how much are we talking about in here?
So if for a regular student like myself, I used to pay 2,400. Now I will be paying 2,520 cedis. Yeah. So that's for people between level 100 and level 300. If you are in level 400, then you are supposed to pay 2,310. For diploma students who were paying 2,200, they are now having to pay 2,660. And for weekend top up
for
the whole year. And the whole fees itself is a discussion we can have on another day, compared to other sister universities who are paying, some are paying less than 1,000 Ghana cedi. But the argument again can be that they have a higher number. But that argument is flawed because UDS has a larger number than GIJ. But yet they still go ahead, and UDS has not declared a 6 million Ghana cedi profit. UDS has not done that. UDS has not declared a 2 million Ghana cedi profit in the previous, 2 years ago. But they have done that. And we are saying that if UDS has done that, it is possible. And that's why by this press release, we are calling on all students to hold on with payment of fees. And that we solidarize with every student. And we say that even if you have the money to pay, and we repeat this, even if you have the money to pay, think about the many other students whose parents have lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19. Think about the many other students whose parents have gone through the banking crisis. Think about the many other students who, through no effort, through no fault of theirs, have to now bear this increment and will not be able to pay. Think about them, and in solidarity with them, do not pay the fees until we hear officially from the president when we are reopening fees, and want to hear from the president himself or parliament telling us that they have approved the increments in our fees.
All right, you would want to come in.
Okay, yeah. Even talking about those who even have the means to pay. I am on government scholarship.
Okay.
Actually, my fees has been taken care of. So I'm not here for my sake. You see, I would have been home sleeping by now. I could have been home sleeping by now. But I'm here because I think this is very inhumane. This is very inhumane for the tertiary institutions or universities to be charging this fees.
Okay.
We keep talking about us being in an era of pandemic, and you see, sometimes you just do not even understand. Sometimes you are tempted to use some strong words on those managing our tertiary institutions, especially Ghana Institute of Journalism. You see, this noise we are actually making now is as a result of a lot of things that we've not talked about over the years, and that will be a discussion for another time.
Okay. Now let me take a few of our messages. I've seen some recommendations from you, the association. I'll ask you about that. This one says, please, I don't understand why the tertiary institutions will be increasing the fees and they are not employing students. Okay, thank you so much. But how do you expect the tertiary institutions to employ students? I don't understand your message anyway. But this one says, Emma, it's from Emma Winner. Is it Emma Winner or Emma Winner? The increment by GIJ is just robbing Peter to pay Paul in these abnormal times. Government on one hand says it's bearing the cost of water and electricity, and at the same time taking same from students by the increment. Please make your messages short, simple, and concise to make it readable. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your submission. Ni Lante says he's a member of the group. It is only inhumane that in times like this, fees will be reduced to support students and the guardians. It should be noted that it is a right of every student under the Constitution to have access to free education, which our leaders today enjoyed and even questioned why they were being fed with chicken and not fish. Why are we just unjustly treated without pay? And as for the injustice we have suffered in GIJ, it's over. Hashtag tertiary fees must fall. Thank you so much, Nilante, for your message. This one says, imagine an increase from 6,700 to 9,129 for fee paying students. University of Ghana is being inconsiderate and insensitive. Government has to do something about this. This is over exploitation of parents. Thank you. From Siudika, University of Ghana. Thank you so much for your message. This one says, it is only fair to emphasize with students. It is only fair to empathize with students in these difficult times. There have been job losses and pay cuts. Most students are home after national service because COVID-19 has ensured that most institutions did not retain some students. Even the government of Ghana has given out stimulus packages to help businesses, both private and public, to stand on their feet. It's only fair that we are given a fair share of the national cake. Tertiary fees must fall. Hashtag from Victor in Nema. Victor, thank you so much for your message. This one says, hi, good evening. This is Manyebi Na Ode, a student of GIJ. My mom is really finding it difficult to pay this semester fees. I support what my colleagues are saying. Thank you so much. Hashtag tertiary fee must fall. Thank you so much, Manye Na Ode, for your message. Please, it's not fair. The government should reduce the fees because we are all citizens of this country, not to favor others. Appiah for Ebenezer, University of Education, Winneba, sent in that one. This one says, the increment might be legitimate, but the time is wrong. Thank you so much for your message. You didn't add your name. This one also says, this is mean. If we are going to accept 5% increase in fees, then I think there should be a refund of fees from last semester's fees. Thank you so much for your message. This one says, GIJ has been consistently insensitive towards the plights. We have opened the phone lines. I'll plead with my director to open the phone lines because I can see a lot of people would want to call into the program. They are calling the WhatsApp line. We are opening the phone lines, and of course, it will be displayed on your screens. Call us if you're a student of any of these universities or the public universities in Ghana. Call us and tell us if your fees has also been increased and all of that. Hi, GIJ has been consistently insensitive towards the plight of students. There is a total communication failure by GIJ's management. Hashtag tertiary fees must fall. Ephraim Azibli sent in that one. From Prestia, why are sandwich students of UCC paying full school fees? Meanwhile, they studied home without eating, as it was done previously. Thank you so much for your message. Usually that is your concern. Anyway, I love that. This one says, how can students be forced to pay such an amount without informing them when school will reopen? Students have been given deadline to pay these fees without any official communique from management. How is this possible? Please don't call the WhatsApp line. The phone line is displayed on your screens. Kindly call us over there and let us know what your issues are. Students' voice matter and must be heard. Enough is enough. Tertiary fees must fall. From Pope Felix in Takrade. Pope Felix, thank you so much for your message. This one says, good evening, Pan-African TV. GIJ remains an institution where students pay more for enjoying less. I believe they must know and understand the psychological trauma that some students are going through. Imagine private school teachers who doubles as students of GIJ being home for months without salaries, and yet the school comes out with such inhumane approach. Imagine students who have their parents struggling to make ends meet after the economic challenges COVID-19 has brought to the good people of Ghana. This should not be entertained in any society. It's injustice. Injustice in plain clothes. GIJ fees must fall. Nana Gardner sent in that one. A lot of calls are coming on the WhatsApp line. I would respectfully want my producers, my director, to open the phone lines for our viewers to call. This is a very serious matter that we need to hear from other students outside, not just GIJ and University of Ghana, but other students from other public tertiary institutions. And so it becomes very necessary for the phone line to be opened. I would plead with I can see a lot of calls coming on the WhatsApp line here. I would still plead that the phone lines are opened. Let's take some few calls also. Now you have, recommended for certain things to be done. I don't know which of you would want to take that, but what are the recommendations, Naninche?
So, like we've said, our call is one for reduction in our fees, and so our recommendation is that the Ministry of Education must listen to our plea. Of course, if the school won't listen to us, we are pleading with the Ministry of Education to listen to our plea and respond affirmatively to the fee decrement call from tertiary students. And so for us, that is our major call, that the fees must be reduced. And one thing I hear you talk about a lot is, so we tried, I would want us to look at it from the perspective of the students. I'm not here to speak from the perspective of management. Okay. The students are what matter to us, and they are the reason why we have come here to defend them. Okay. And we could have, if we look at the whole COVID-19 period, GIJ is not the only institution that suffered from it. Many institutions have suffered from it. In fact, if you understand how the English Premier League works and how a business institution it is, they had to suspend the activities for some time. Everything across the globe had to be suspended for some time. And so we are saying that, look, we are still in this pandemic period. And so even the president acknowledges it and said, even though I gave you 3 months of water and all those things, we are extending it till December, because he's hoping that by then the ills of COVID-19 would have cured a bit, so that would have moved on. And so that's what we are calling for, that management should have mercy on the very students that work that are learning from the institution. And we are saying that, look, you might think that the students is not important. And when during this whole discussion, when you speak to many students, there are many students out there who cannot afford it. And let me give you another example. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I mean, during its early stages, the school decided that we should do an online exams. Okay. And we raised concerns and said, look, the fact that everybody is doing online exams does not mean that GIJ should do online exams, because we don't have a system built well enough to be able to do these online exams. And for those who wrote the exams, you can bear testimony to the fact that there were people who could not submit the assignments. There were people who could not do a lot of. And now I speak to you, there's a particular paper, year group, who have written a paper online, who have all been recalled back to campus to go and write their paper. And I'm telling you that we don't know when school will resume. The school does not provide facilities for accommodation. Someone will leave Tamale, someone will leave Western North region, someone will leave many other regions, come to GIJ just to write these exams. And we are saying that many times the school has refused to listen to our side of the story. Many times the school has not given us enough respect. Many times the school has just said they just called a bluff about us. And we are saying that this time around the school must listen to our plea. If for nothing at all, for the kind of pressure and for the kind of ills that COVID-19 has brought to us, the school must listen to us. So like we've said, we are calling with no iota of doubt that the fees that have been increased must be reduced. If for nothing at all, they must be maintained. We were even thinking that the school would reduce them from what they used to be. But if the school won't do that, then they should not increase it. They should keep it.
We have a caller. Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, my name is Osman Awakar Sadiq. I'm a student of the Ghana Institute of Journalism, currently staying in Bali, Savannah region.
Fantastic. Tell us your issue.
I'd like to say a very big thanks to our comrades Abdurrahim Naninchi and Abdul Samad. They are doing a fantastic job for the Concerned Tertiary Students Association or Concerned Students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism. The fact remains that GIJ has suffocated its students for a very long time now.
Okay.
Ever since some of us gained admission into GIJ, we thought as a leading communication institute in West.
Hello.
Fast forward with information that pertains students' development and students' activities. But it has turned that GIJ do not care or is very lackadaisical when it comes to students' development in Ghana. Come to think of it, before we write an online exams, management has promised each of us free airtime or data to aid in our online studies and online examination.
Okay.
We were compelled to buy new SLTGO SIMs. Those of us who could not have that teleco to use, we were compelled to buy those things, free internet for our online services. But as we speak, we couldn't have data to aid our online exams. Those who could not afford data, some of us who are less privileged and coming from rural communities had to trek or walk from kilometers to our regional or district capital to access the internet to be able to, partake in online studies. Come to think of it again that GIJ for the past years now has suffocated its students in matters of leadership. When you take the SRC of GIJ, for instance,
Can you make it snappy so that another person will also get the opportunity to call? All right, thank you so much for calling us. So we didn't receive any refund. We used our own data to access online tuition and exam. In fact, we aren't even asking for any refund. Why should GIJ just up and increase fees? What they should be concerned about is getting our online portals working. Why must I pay new semester fees before I can view the past semester's exam results? For a school that is 60 years, this is too shameful. The challenge this institution face, my text won't be able to cover. Trust me, we simply aren't receiving value for money. Hashtag tertiary fees must indeed fall. This is Tracy, GIG student. Thank you so much, Tracy, for your message. Good evening, Justice. Justice, will you vote for a 76-year-old sleeping man? Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from? Your name and where you're calling from?
Hello. Please, my name is Enro calling from New Salama.
Okay, so make it snappy. Which institution are you and what are your issues?
I'm the Institute of Ghana Institute of Journalism.
Very well. Your issues?
Concerning the increment of fees and then students' portal being logged for accessing to check the results is an issue that is very, very serious, because at stands now, you cannot even access the portal. And then students who attempt to go and pay the fees are also bound back to come on, because the system is very weak. So for GIJ being a communication school and then having a bad communication down to students is a matter that is being worrisome to students. So we are calling on management and we are calling on the government to, at least for once, ask the students to hear our plea.
All right, thank you so much for your submission. Good evening, Justice. Justice, will you vote for 76-year-old sleeping man to sleep for 4 more years? They are even planning to tax Ghanaians for their air we breathe. NPP is a criminal enterprise and a misfortune. Jejong in Taifa sent in that one. Jejong, today we are not discussing politics. We are discussing GIJ and University of Ghana students whose fees have been increased.
Hello.
Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Abdul Mumin Kamal, a student at the Ghana Institute of Journalism.
Fantastic. Your issues?
Just like my friends are saying, Abdullah, Minche, and Larry,
okay,
our statement is unequivocal.
Okay.
There should be a reduction in fees. That is what we are calling for. Because at this time, there are hardships for everybody. And it should be the least that the management should be. So all we are calling for is a reduction in fees. And then we are targeting not even the Minister of Education, even the President. We want him to hear this and then come to our aid.
Okay.
Because we are suffering. So I think this is the time or never. We are standing strong on our feet and we will not back down. That is our statement. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your message, for your submission. Sorry. Please, the government should look at students' loan to assist us because of the pandemic. We are really worried about the fees. So I suggest the students' loans should be paid fully for those who have registered for 2019-2020 academic year. Andy, Assem, University of Education, sent in that one. Hi, I am Chris. Some of us are just thinking of how to get the money to pay the usual fees of 2,400, and there's now increment of 5%. GIJ is being inhumane. The most annoying part of this whole brouhaha is the fact that you can't access your transcript for a result you had already paid for. GIJ don't think of students' lives, but only money. Now, Larry, good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
Please, I'm Richie President. I'm calling from Aguna Street.
Which institution are you?
Please, I've completed school, but I want to pass the comment. That's all.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, please. I like the submission of the two gentlemen on your studio.
All right.
But what I want to pass is just simple. Like the tertiary institutions, for example, that like the colleges of education, at times we also face same challenges. Even though I've completed, but I still have an issue with the colleges of education in terms of management and how monies are collected from the students. Yeah, so that's all the comments I would like to pass.
Very well. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you so much for your submission. The situation on the ground, being the pandemic, shouldn't call for increment of fees. It's quite appalling. University of Ghana has well increased fee for this academic year. Paul Charles Autry, University of Ghana City Campus. Thank you so much, Paul Charles, for your message. Good evening, Pan-African TV. It is unfair for the management of GIJ to increase fees at these trying times. It's as if they have forgotten we struggle to pay hostel fees and rent fees in addition to the school fees since the school doesn't give us accommodation. GIJ deserves better. Fees must be reduced. Nyanza Benedicta in Takwa sent in this one. Benedicta, thank you so much for your message. Until GIJ responds to the situation positively. Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Hamdia and I am a special organization from Kufridia.
Okay, go ahead with your submission.
So our concern remains the same. Kudos to Larry and then kudos to Nani. GIJ must fall. That is it. Like we are tired. Like we can't even think amidst the pandemic and then things are not going on well. And then the only thing you can do to help us is to increase fees. GIG is not being fair to us. Or whoever has increased it is not being fair to us. Already, our suffocating. Our fees even higher with other sister universities. So we are still on our feet. If they don't decrease the fees, we won't stop ranting, we won't stop making noise on the internet. So she will do a fee for us and let everybody live in peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your submission. We're so grateful. Until GIG responds to the situation positively, we concerned tertiary students won't relent. Hashtag tertiary fees must fall. A free Anani sent in that one. Today the students are really angry. GIG Dean of Students must resign as soon as possible. He is a supportive. Is he a supportive at all? I don't really understand that part. But it says GIG management seems not to understand the meaning of communication we are doing in GIG. They always want to inject us with hypodermic theory without voicing out our opinions. I'm also part of the concerned students of GIG or in a GIG. Thank you so much, but you did not add your name. Now, we'll take two more calls.
Hello.
Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
Evening. My name is Nadia Sinari. I'm calling from Accra.
Which school are you?
Please, actually, I'm not a student. Actually, my kid sister attends GIG.
Okay, so go ahead with your submission. What do you think?
Well, we were told last week. I went to the school and
Okay.
they asked us to pay for the fees. So I paid her fees on last week. That was last week.
Okay.
I paid her fees last, and I'm asking, so what of those who have already paid? How are we also going to refund our money back?
Well, they are now fighting it anyway. They've not really gotten any response yet from the appropriate quarters. Until that, if you have paid, maintain it like that. I think that probably when there's a reduction or something of that sort, probably it's going to be rectified. It's going to be corrected. Your monies, your balance is going to be paid back to you. I guess. I'm not saying that is what it's going to be anyway. Now let me come to you, Larry. Naninche was talking about the recommendations. What recommendations have you made? Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, please. I'm calling from Ashanti region.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm
go ahead with your submission.
I'm called Appiah Kubuga.
Okay, go ahead with your submission.
Yeah, I just came across this program and I'm very interested in it. I'm a student from University of Education.
Okay.
So, what I've realized the leaders of this country, they never think of the students. They always think all the students, we are all from the rich family. That's what I've realized.
Has your fees also been increased?
For your discussions, it's very good. But
UCC, has your fees also been increased?
Better for them to hear, the leaders of this country to hear, and then do something better for us. We should keep on doing so that you can help us from the rural areas, so that we can also take part in the tertiary institutions.
All right, thank you so much for your submission. But I've asked if your fees has also been increased. Well, we've lost him. All right, but thank you so much for your submission. Larry, I'll come to you. Go ahead.
Okay, so what the main thing we are calling for, as Naninche said, is for management.
What specific recommendations have you made, and who are you making those recommendations to? Is it management of GIG, or you are making those recommendations to government and the ministry that is responsible for the regulation of fees?
Management of GIG, the ministry, the president, the government body as a whole. We are calling on everyone who matters in this situation to come in.
Now let's look at the specific recommendations you've made. What are those recommendations?
So we are calling on management to rescind the decision on the increment of fees. We are also calling on management to extend the deadline for the decreased fees. So after they decrease the fees, we are calling for an extension of the deadline.
An extension of how long?
We do not have a specific.
You have given an ultimatum of 14 days. Or is it 12 days or 14 days?
14 days.
You have given an ultimatum of 14 days for the fees to be reduced. And you are now recommending that after it has been reduced, an extension of time is given to you.
Yes.
How long are you asking of from government?
Because as it stands, we have on our portal 9th October to pay up the fees, the increased fees. You get it? We have 9th October. But as it stands, we don't even know when we are resuming. We don't even know. And the president, as Nietzsche said, it took the president to halt activities of schools, right? So it will take the president again for us to resume. But there's been nothing.
But the
of
fact
the
that
sort.
you've not resumed doesn't mean that you're not studying. You study online, don't you?
No. We are done with the first semester already.
But is the school not, as a matter of fact,
second semester.
looking
second
at
semester.
okay,
We are done with that year already. So we are waiting to start another
to
year.
begin an academic year?
Yes, to begin an academic year.
And it is due for an academic year to begin, isn't it?
It's, as it stands, we don't know when it
No, is it due for an academic year to
Okay,
begin?
no, usually it's supposed
It's supposed to be in September,
Yes,
and we are now
yes,
in October.
Yes.
Has management or has the school communicated to you that they are beginning an academic year in probably this October?
Even the
Hence,
schools waiting for
fees
announcement
should be
from the
paid.
president.
They have not communicated anything of that sort. They have not communicated to us when school is resuming.
Because the
You
school
get
does not
it?
know when
And
school is resuming.
the only thing we heard about school resuming on it or anything was on one I think there was a report, I don't really remember the media house, that school will continue online. So management is considering to, even when school will even resume, we are going to continue online. That is what is going to happen. But as it stands, we don't know when. So that is the case we are making. We don't even know when.
Then on what
school is
basis
resuming.
are you asked to pay fees?
Exactly. That is the
What
point.
fees are
You
you
see,
paying
that is the thing we are talking about. There's
Of course. What are you paying fees for?
There's a deadline for payment. And I saw
But
today,
these are questions the association should ask.
let me add this. I saw on WhatsApp today. I can't really confirm though, but I tried looking for the main this thing, but I didn't get it. That admission has been extended to 31st October for freshers.
How true is that?
That's why I said I can't really confirm that though, but I saw, and mostly GIJ, most of our information comes through WhatsApp. You get it? So sometimes there won't be really any official communique, but you see just some kind of we have this page where
did you see it from a credible source?
Mostly we have a page where academic affairs drops information. You get it? So sometimes when it's dropped there, students will pick it up and share it across. So that is what happens. You get it? So you see those who were calling, talking about communication. GIJ is a communication.
So if I would understand you guys well, you mean that even the communication channel, how management communicates, issues to students in GIJ is even quite problematic.
Exactly. There's a big problem with
there's a gap.
Yes, there's a big gap, and it's very it's an irony.
So in other words, you feel that the school is now exploiting students or parents, so to speak, with regards to this increment.
You see, if you take aside Arsenal fans, GIJ students are one of the most patient people in this world. I'll tell you, because there's been a lot that we've stomached over the years. And if we say we are going to blow up, it's going to be a whole different thing.
Very well.
You get it? So this particular issue, we are not going to relent on our horse. We are going at all lengths to make sure these fees are reduced. And after that, we are coming at them for other problems in Ghana, in the Ghana Institute of Journalism.
Okay, now our time is up. Naninche, I'll end with you. If our attempt to get authorities reduce, the increment, what will be the next line of action? Would you consider going to court?
Like I've stated, we are taking this one step at a time, and we believe that the management of the Ghana Institute of Journalism would listen to the calls we've made, presented all these press releases, and the subsequent some of the meetings we've had with the dean, and all the things we've done. We are hoping that at least for once the institution would respect us and listen to our plea. In the unlikely event that it doesn't happen, we would, and like I've stated, all members of our group believe that by any means necessary, even if it gets to a point where we need to do anything
You say by any means necessary.
Yeah.
By any means necessary.
Exactly.
What are some of the means we are looking at?
One of the means is what we are doing now. One of the means. Yeah.
You are sending, I mean, your messages across on a national television. Fantastic. What are that means if they've not listened?
Like I'm saying, Justice, until today, you probably didn't know we were going to even be on your show. So we are telling you that we don't have to jump the gun. Our team knows what we are doing, and as and when we get to that stage, we'll cross the river.
Very well. I mean, I can see a lot of messages on WhatsApp. On WhatsApp and then on Facebook actually. But I'll take few of the WhatsApp ones and then we leave here. Please stop calling the WhatsApp line. Unfortunately, we've closed the phone lines. I just have to read few of this and then we go. This one says, this thing is very serious. Some students are on scholarships who need to show their transcripts to their sponsors in order to get their fees paid. But here lies the case where we can't access our results to send to our sponsors for funds to be released. This is very pathetic. Thank you so much for your message. This one says, host, that supposed concerned students in your studio are rather looking for ways to be popular amongst your colleagues. They should go back and do their research on educational institutions and their powers, which can warrant them to increase fees without parliament control. The arguments are not strong to support them. You see how they almost struggled at the beginning with your questions. That yellow shirted guy is even making matters worse with his posture. I wonder the site of communication they are being taught at their schools. Some schools pay more than the fees they were quoted earlier. Host, God bless your good work. Thank you so much for your message. Good evening, Pan African TV. We students suffer to pay the 2,400 fees, and hitting us with an increment in these critical times is unbearable. JIJ management must listen to our plea and reduce the fees. Sika Audrey Jifa in Pokwasi sent in that one. Jifa, thank you so much for your message. This one says, I have completed a certain school in Kumasi for the past 3 years ago, but I don't have my certificate. That is between you and your school. Justice, please call me for info on 02. Okay, I'll call you. Hey, this one there, no, I'll have a second part of this discussion. GID has been increasing fees over the years, and we had no problems with it because times were normal, but we are kicking against this insensitive increment due to the pandemic, which has thrown the world and its economic activities off gear. How much more innocent students like us and a poor orphan like me? Let's be fair in this. Tertiary fees must fall. Victor sent in that one. Students near break. After our parents spent so much money on buying internet bundle for our online exams, despite paying the last semester's school fees, they have to struggle in this difficult time to pay an increment fee. This is just not right. JIJ must have some empathy for we students. Lily Solis Aiku from Japon. My time is up. I've been prompted. Thanks for doing business with you guys. Thanks for having us. Very grateful. I'd love to once again have you guys on this platform. In any case, if you pursue this and management and government is not listening to you, the students, I think that you have a point. We can come back on this platform and as well channel our grievances to both management and government. In fact, the institution responsible, the ministry responsible for regulating, increment in your fees and all of that would have to. Let me also state on record that we'll get the Ministry of Education right here in the studio for this discussion. I'll try as much as possible to get the PR for the ministry to come and tell us why tertiary institutions and the public ones will increase fees without approval from Parliament, just as the students are alleging. This is what time will last on the program. Make a time with us same time tomorrow. My name is Justice Appiah, and the show has been Hot News.